And welcome in everybody to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate y'all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if it's one of your favorite places, do catch podcasts later on in the week. It is DJ, not joined this time by my co-host Kelsey, as Kelsey is unfortunately out of commission for this week. He is on the IL, but he will be back soon. But don't worry, don't tune out yet. Don't hit the X button. I know there will still be plenty of Kelseyisms in this show. I made sure to have those on standby, so you definitely do not want to miss those. We got a lot of fun stuff to get into today for sure. We're going to talk a little bit of March Madness. We're going to talk a little MLB, a little bit of NFL, and then, of course, we'll talk a little bit of spring football at the end. We got a lot of fun to get into. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the opening part of our show. That is, of course, the tip-off brought to your good friends over at SeatGeek. Use code BellyUpSports for $20 off your first set of tickets, whether it's to a comedy show, a sporting event, anything along those lines, even a concert. Get yourself a free $20 off your first set of tickets. And to start the show off, we're going to go right into March, maybe not so madness after all. So far, we're in the round of 16, starting up again on Thursday after the first two rounds concluded. Weirdly enough, it's been a very, we're going to call it chalk. We're going to use the very stereotypical word and call it chalk. First two rounds of the tournament. Not a lot of big upsets, not a lot of surprises, not a lot of, oh my goodness. It's been kind of what you would expect. If you bet on all of the underdogs, you would be down bad right now. I don't remember the exact number, but I saw the statistic for if you bet like $100 on all the underdogs, it was not so pretty. If you bet all the favorites, you'd be sitting in pretty good shape. Granted, some of those were like Auburn minus like 10,000 or something like that. So probably wouldn't have made a lot. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket here as we see where we're at as we head into the round of 16. If you look at it, the thing that stands out, all right, Michigan, Auburn, 1 versus 5, kind of makes sense. An upset with them beating A&M. Number 6, Ole Miss taking on Michigan State, a 2 versus a 6. Okay, I guess in theory, kind of an upset, but not so much, not a whole lot of surprise there. Florida, Maryland, 1 versus 4 makes sense. This is where the one place where it gets a little interesting. Number 3, Texas Tech taking on Arkansas. Arkansas, the only double-digit seed at this point, a 10 seed coming out of the SEC. Did get a surprising win over St. John's, so that was kind of the upset so far. That's the oh my goodness one. Even looking at Colorado State upsetting Memphis, Colorado State was the favorite, was the betting odds favorite. Then we look on the other side of the bracket too. Wisconsin going up against BYU, 3 versus 6. BYU gets it done late in the game. So 2 versus 6, I guess, in theory, a little bit. Then 1 versus 4 with Arizona versus Duke. Purdue, Houston, UK, Tennessee, 2 versus 3, 1 versus 4. Everything kind of makes sense there. McNeese stay with the upset over Clemson, but not over Purdue. So we saw a little bit in the early first round, but it did not carry over. So we're going to call this the chalkiest chalks of all chalks so far when it comes to the NCAA tournament. I don't think, however, it is going to continue. I do think that this coming week, I think we'll see at least 3 of the number 1 seeds advance, but I think one of them will go down. I don't know which one it is. Not willing to make that call yet, but I'll say it's definitely not going to be Duke. I don't think Duke is going out to Arizona, and I don't think Florida is going out to Maryland. I could see Purdue and Houston if Braden Smith is on his P's and Q's and is lighting it up, but that's a tough ask as well. And then, of course, Auburn, Michigan. I'm going to take Auburn. I'm going to lean Auburn. I think their average age is like 23 and a half. That's the same as Oklahoma City Thunder. They're experienced. They're ready to be here. As far as other upsets, I could see BYU catching Alabama if Alabama has one of those games where they just simply can't seem to get the ball in the hole. I know there are some times where when they get their shots just aren't falling, and then we already know they don't play defense. Their defense is offense. So I think those are the ones that are most likely for one, Texas Tech and Arkansas. I still think Texas Tech is going to win. Arkansas has been really good, but we're going to lean towards Texas Tech on that one. I already mentioned Florida over Maryland, Duke over Arizona. UK and Tennessee is really, really interesting. I think Kentucky has overachieved a little bit. I know they're a 3 seed. I know they're very good, but I honestly thought they were going to get clipped a little bit earlier. I thought Illinois might clip them. I thought there's a chance they could have even lost to Troy. Tennessee is really good, even though they haven't looked incredible yet. They've just been good. They've been winning. I think defensively they can still crank it up another notch, and offensively they haven't quite hit their stride yet. So I do like Tennessee in that one. Houston, Purdue, we already mentioned. I'll lean Houston, but I can't see Purdue pulling the upset. But as we look at this March Madness, let me know down in the comments if you guys think is it just me or has this been a little bit more of the chalk type ones? It reminds me of, I think it was 2000 and 2009 or 2010. Maybe it's 2008. It was way back in the day before some of us were even born, I'm sure, where all four number one seeds made the Final Four. I think that was with Derrick Rose and Memphis, and then Kansas and Mario Chalmers back in that era. So let me know down in the comments if this has felt like one of the more chalk Final Fours that you could think of in recent memory, or maybe if I'm just overthinking it. But that's going to transition us now out of March Madness. We're now to go into the NFL, where we're going to talk about some giant QB problems for the New York Giants. And weirdly enough, it's a different type of problem than they had 1 week ago. 1 week ago, it was who is going to be their quarterback. As far as they don't have anyone on the roster, they have Tommy Cutlets, and that's about it. However, now the situation has changed. Not only did they bring in Jameis Winston for 2 years, and I think like 12-ish million, something along those lines, but just a few days ago they added in Russell Wilson, 1 year, 21 million with 12 guaranteed. So my question, and maybe some Giants fans can help me out here, is I don't know what the move here is. I get bringing in Jameis Winston. You have a not old but not young guy. He's in late 20s or so. Bring him in there. He's going to feed Malik Neighbors. He is going to force him the ball. I remember tweeting it right after the trade. Malik Neighbors just became a number one, a first-round pick in fantasy football this upcoming year because he's going to get the ball. I don't know why you bring in Russell Wilson. That one still doesn't make sense to me. We've seen since his ability to escape and his athletic ability has started to wane as he's gotten older, Russ has become less and less effective. What made him so elite in his heyday, especially in those Seattle days with DK, Tyler Lockett, etc., was his ability to break the pocket, escape, make those freelance plays, throw those moon balls up the sideline if they played single high or they brought the safeties down, extend the play, get a deep crossing route, deep option routes, the things like that where once the defense broke down a little bit, once he made them drop all the way back, made them break their passing lanes, and then took off. Now he doesn't really do that, and he can't do that as effectively. We saw it in the final 6 games with Pittsburgh last year, final 5 games. They went 0-5. He had as many turnovers as touchdowns. He was very, very mediocre down the stretch. And part of that is he's getting older. Part of that is the Steelers' offense is, well, it's not much of an offense, if we're being honest. It's kind of a George Pickens maybe or a random moon ball here or there, but a lot of goofiness in between. In the Giants, you got the exact same scenario. It's going to be a lot of goofiness. So I don't know what the move is here, especially if they are bringing a young quarterback. You're going to tell me Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, and Shedeur Sanders, that is a QB room that we need hard knocks just for them all 17 games if that's the case. You know what? Even as it is, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy Cutlets, we need that full-time camera crew all season. I want to see this play out. But this tells me that the Giants either aren't quite sold on the quarterbacks at the top. They really like someone like Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, someone they're going to pick up a little bit later, or they're looking to possibly even trade back, or they're going to stick and pick and look to maybe reload for next year. I think obviously Joe Shane and Brian Dabble are kind of coaching and GMing for their jobs right now. So maybe they think Jameis and Russ could get them enough wins. I don't know. But it's a very odd scenario. Tyrone Tracy's nice. Malik Neighbors is nice. Andrew Thomas is an awesome left tackle when healthy. But there are a lot of holes across that roster that they need to fill in. It's probably 2 years away. I get the Jameis Winston one. That makes a lot of sense. If he hits, if he has a Sam Darnold reoccurrence, you buy yourself more time. And you have I'm not even going to call him young, but a not old quarterback who could be in the prime of his career, who you know is going to put it up for Malik Neighbors, who is your shining bright spot. He is the guy that sells tickets. He's the one people are going to buy jerseys for. He's the one that people are going to tune in for. It's like when they had Odell handful of years ago. That's what sells tickets, and he's going to get him the ball. He's not going to overthink it. When in doubt, Neighbors out there somewhere. Like a good Neighbors, Jameis Winston should be there for Malik. So I think that was the option to keep him out there. I don't know the Russell Wilson situation. We'll see. Only the Giants know. And if they're going to draft somebody, especially a Shedeur or Cam at pick 3, it's going to get even more wacky. But Giants quarterback situation, you know what? Let's get a round of applause, everybody, for the Jets. They no longer have the most confusing quarterback situation in New Jersey for one of the first times in a very long time, it feels like. But they could still take someone at 7, but even if they don't, theirs is a lot more comfortable that's going on in Big Blue. But we're going to stay in the NFL. We're going to stay in the Northeast. We're going to head over to the AFC East as Stefon Diggs signing with the New England Patriots. $69 million with about 20-something guaranteed. I kind of like this move. I know Diggs is coming off an ACL tear. Not even 10 months. It'll not even 10 months once the season starts. I know it's his first major injury. I know he's on the wrong side of 30, quote unquote. He still knows how to run a route. He still understands leverage. He still understands how to break on the ball. He still understands coverages, sit in the zones, how to get underneath the man coverage, how to get away from it. And the Patriots have spent a lot of money on defense in the free agency. A lot of money. In fact, almost exclusively. What I think this does, not only is he going to be their number one receiver, I think That's their hope. But if he can kind of return to the Stefon Diggs that we'd seen previously, but if he's not, he gives Drake May a veteran presence who I just mentioned, can find the leverage, can find this holes in the zone. If they're playing that press underneath, man, he can get over the top of it. If they're taking away the outside, he can work his way to the inside to get out. If it's an outbreaking route, he knows how to give his quarterback a chance in a lot of these scenarios, can win a lot of one-on-ones, can help that receiver room just by osmosis. But it also really opens up the possibilities with that number 4 overall pick. If Abdul Carter is there, this means, we may have spent all of our money on defense, but you know what? That is the best player in the draft and a outstanding edge rusher, a game changer, a game wrecker out of the gate. You can go get him. You can go grab him and bring him in and just kind of work the rest of the draft to help your offense. If Travis Hunter is there, you don't really need secondary help. Your secondary is pretty solid. So you could draft him to lean on him as a receiver, which a lot of people are projecting at the next level to be an outstanding receiver that maybe moonlights a little on defense or vice versa. I do think I would, and if he does play defense with the Patriots, he could spotlight at corner or safety a little bit. My co-host Kelsey has mentioned he thinks Travis Hunter could be a high level safety at the next level, which I think could counterbalance his skills out a bit too. So I think this opens up that pick a lot. It also opens up the opportunity to trade back if they have a suitor. It means they could reach. I'm putting reach because it's not really a reach if the pick works out. But you could go get like Will Campbell or Kelvin Banks or Ahmed, I forget his last name, from Missouri, the offensive tackle. You could bring in those guys to build that offensive line. And even if it is a little bit early for where they normally get taken, you don't have to reach for something else. You can also bring in Ted McMillan, a 6'5", 6'4", 220-pound guy who can also run, as he showed in his 40-yard dash. You could bring in Ashton Jeanty, honestly, if you want to. Like, that is never a bad pick, even if it doesn't make the most sense. So I think the Stefon Diggs signing, if nothing else, it gives them a little bit of leeway with the draft. And if you can get 85% of what Stefon Diggs has been the last few years, even 90% of what he was last year, that's a huge upgrade for someone like Drake May looking to take those next steps. And I do think this is going to be an offensive draft for the Patriots. This is more or less reassurance. Demario Douglas had some nice moments. Keyshawn Boutte is pretty nice. Maybe they want to get really freaky and go get like Tyler Warren. I don't know. Like, points, I think this will be an offensive draft for them nonetheless. But bringing in Stefon Diggs, I think, gives them a little bit of leeway as far as, okay, maybe Abdul Carter is there. We don't have to look away at that. Like, it gives them a little bit of leeway. And if they want to trade back, which I think this is one of the teams early on I think would really like to trade back. Let's say Abdul Carter is not there. Maybe they don't feel the need for Travis Hunter, but someone behind them really wants him, et cetera, et cetera. This gives them the leeway to trade back if they want to. But let us know down below what you think of the Stefon Diggs signing with the New England Patriots. If you think it's going to work out, or do you think he's on the backside of his career? It's just signing the name at this point. The $69 million is a big contract, that's for sure. But I get it too, especially with the salary cap going up. You get him in this case too. But that's going to wrap it up for this Around the Sports World tip-off, brought to you by good friends over at SeatGeek. That's now going to take us into the main event. And for the main event, we're talking about MLB. We got the MLB season right around the corner. Opening day, a national holiday, will be well underway in less than like 16-ish hours from at the time of this recording. So, of course, every year we do our MLB season predictions and previews. Kelsey is not here with me, but don't worry. We got his picks, so we will be able to go through them. This won't just be me ranting about baseball, where sometimes I hit it on the head, other times I strike out so bad I nearly hit somebody with the bat. But we're going to go who we think will be in the playoffs in the order of which we will have them. We're going to go my picks, Kelsey's picks, then we're going to go into our World Series picks. We're going to start with mine, looking at the screen now. For me, we'll start with the AL. I got the Boston Red Sox, Houston Astros, Cleveland Guardians as your division winners, 1, 2, 3 in that order, with the Orioles, Royals, and the Yankees rounding out the wild card spots. In the NL, we got Dodgers, Phillies, Cubs as the 3 division winners, with the Braves, the Mets, and the Pirates finding their way as the wild card teams. I'll start with the AL. I know the Boston one's a little, oh my goodness, DJ, what are you thinking? Hear me out on this one. I think they're a really, really nice team on paper. I really like what they have. It's been a while. They haven't had a winning season, I think, almost half a decade now. They've been the cellar dweller for most recently. But I think this is the year they could really turn it around. And I think they have the roster, and usually when a team that will turn around and just keep it rolling through, they won't have those lulls as much. Garrett Crochet in the rotation, they needed that. Left-handed starter, they really needed that. They got Alex Bregman in free agency, all-star third baseman, right-handed bat in there as well. In Fenway Park, him and the Green Monster are going to get real, real friendly this year for sure. So I really like what the Red Sox did. in the offseason, I think they did have some young prospects that really made show up last year. I mean, they have they have Christian Campbell, MLB's number 7 prospect, is going to be on the opening day roster. Roman Anthony, number 2 prospect. Shortstop Marcelo Meyer. They have a lot of young guys I think will help them. Injuries, well, hopefully they don't happen. Obviously, that could be an issue, but I really like what they have. And you still have Rafael Devers, Jaron Duran. Their outlook is it's awesome. I like what they did. I think their pitching staff got really, really good last year. And I think it is going to build on that this year for sure. The Astros, not a huge surprise there. I think the Astros last year was a bit of an anomaly. I think they're going to bounce back. I just I like the Mariners. I like the Rangers. I like those are some good teams in there, but I think the Astros will kind of regain form and get back. Then the Guardians in the AL Central. I don't love the Central again this year. I think the Tigers are going to take a step back. I think Scooball is still awesome, but I don't know if he'll fully replicate that insane season he had last year. I think it's going to come down to the Guardians and the Royals down the stretch. Give the Guardians a slight edge, a very, very slight edge. I do think offensively, when push comes to shove, they can crank it with those as well as anybody. So I'm going to put the Guardians at 3. Orioles at number 4. I think they're going to be awesome. I think them and the Red Sox are going to be tit for tat most of the way. I gave the Red Sox the slight edge. I think the Orioles with Gunnar Henderson, Ape, Adley Rushman, etc. Like that is a loaded squad. I think they're going to be awesome yet again. I think last year it almost felt like they underachieved because of how they got out. They got bounced out early in the playoffs. So they did play. It was 2 years in a row playing October baseball. However, I still think that it has been, what is it, 20, like 12, 13 or so years since they've had a postseason victory. I think the youth they have, Jackson Holiday, Jordan Westbrook, 27 and under is they're like Oklahoma City at this point in the NBA. They are very young. Gunnar Anderson's going to start injured, but I don't think it'll be too long. Rotation, we will see, but I like the Orioles. I think they're going to find a way to be a force and to still get that 4 spot. Kansas City at number 5. Bobby Witt Jr. is arguably the best player in the NFL. Maybe even one not named Aaron Judge. He's right up there. I think Kansas City was very, very close. I think they're right there. I think they're going to find a way in. And the same with the Yankees. You lost Juan Soto. Garrett Cole banged up yet again. Doesn't look like it's going to be a great start, but you got Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger, Max Fried, Devin Williams. Like they're still star-studded. They're still going to find a way to get it done. I think that division is just absolutely loaded, which is going to make it difficult. Let's take a look at the NL standings. Dodgers number 1. There is absolutely nothing. They are the most loaded team. There's a reason they're like plus 300 favorites to win it all or whatever it is, like comfortably to win it all. They're loaded top to bottom. Phillies at number 2. I like what the Phillies have done. Honestly, they've had one of the better rosters in MLB the last few years. I think they just did a good job in this offseason, kind of reassuring that you didn't lose anybody, and I think they will be a little bit healthier this year too. They've made the postseason for 3 straight years. A lot of the same guys last year: Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner. The offense was still ranked 5th in runs scored last year and 4th in OPS. They're still very, very good. Those guys are still in their prime. Rotation ahead by Zach Wheeler, last year's Cy Young runner-up. Jesus Luzardo in December. If he can get, I think he'll be able to be a little more successful this year than he was last year. It's still one of the best teams in MLB, and last year they kind of had a disappointing fall off at the end. I think this year they're going to recapture. And as we mentioned a couple weeks ago, I have the Cubs as my coming out of the NL Central. The NL Central is kind of like the AL Central. I don't really like a lot of the teams there. I think the Cubs are very, very poised to be a surprise team this year. We talked about it in our episode a few weeks ago about some of the Cubs' chances to maybe be a surprise team for 2025, a way they could sneak up on people. I love what they did with some of their offseason moves. I think they ended last year very strong. They have a lot of players that are poised to break out. So I like the Cubs as kind of the surprise winner in the NL Central. The Braves at number 4. Could you find a team more injury ravaged than the Braves last year? Not a chance. I think Ronald Acuna, all the boys are going to come back. They're going to be a lot healthier. They're going to be ready to go, ready to make up for lost time. I think Philly's going to be start strong, and they're not going to taper. I think so. They're going to slightly edge out the Braves for the division. New York Mets last year had a heck of a run, honestly, surprisingly beating the Phillies in that playoff run. And I think adding Juan Soto long term is going to be a detriment. I think that much money is going to hurt. Juan Soto is awesome, but I don't know if he needs to be him being the highest paid player ever awesome. That's where I'm a little bit interested. But I think for this year, I think it's going to work out. They're going to find their way into the playoffs. Then the Pittsburgh Pirates at number 6. I know I said I didn't love the Central. Still don't, but what Paul Skeens gives you as an ace pitcher and what they've been able to build around him the last couple of years, I think they have the ability to find a way to make a run and get into that 6th playoff spot. This is what I have for my AL and NL standings at the end of the year. Division leaders, wild card teams. We're going to go and take a look at Kelsey's picks now. And as we look at Kelsey's picks, let's see, get these back up. And as we get a chance here to take a look at Kelsey's picks here in just a moment, he has the Orioles at the top of the billing as the number 1 seed in the AL, with the Rangers at 2, the Tigers at 3, the Red Sox at 4, the Yankees at 5, and the Astros at 6. So we have a little bit of similarities. He thinks the Rangers are going to bounce back. He thinks last year was the anomaly, and they're going to be back in the swing this year. And then with Detroit, Scooball's still awesome, so he has him getting in there as well. Yeah, I think he has Scooball continuing that and some of the pieces they built around him returning. In the NL, both of us have the Dodgers up there. He did give it to Atlanta. We kind of just flip-flopped on the Atlanta Phillies as far as Atlanta's coming back healthy, et cetera, everything we said about him on my preview. That's why he has the Phillies at 4. He's a believer in the Pirates, has them at number 3 and taking the Central. Obviously, a lot of the same reasons. I think he's just a little bit more bullish on the rotation. Paul Skeens, we obviously talked about, might be the best pitcher in baseball. If not, he's well on his way there. And I think they're building a very, very nice core around him. Next up at 5, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr. Sorry, I stuttered right there, but he has the Padres at number 5. I like the Padres a lot. For me, they were kind of the first team out, unfortunately, when I was doing mine. They just missed out. But Darvish, Dylan Cease, they are a very, very good squad. I think if they can stay healthy and getting that full season of Fernando Tatis, I think is going to be huge for them. So that's why he has them as the 5th seed, getting into the playoffs, bouncing back this year. And then at 6, he has Snakes Alive once more. The Diamondbacks getting in as the 6th spot. I really like the Diamondbacks too. Honestly, the NL just kind of ran out of space for me. But let's take a look at the Championship Series and the World Series picks. We're going to go and start with mine. I have the Baltimore Orioles over the Red Sox. I do think we'll get an AL East Battle Royale. And then I got the LA Dodgers over the Philadelphia Phillies. And I'm going to take the Orioles over the Dodgers. I think top to bottom, they are the 2 best rosters in baseball, in my opinion. We already know how good the Dodgers are. I do think the youth of the Orioles last year's run in a little bit of a disappointment end is going to get Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, Adley Rutschman. All those guys are going to take it to another level this year. I like the Orioles. I think they're going to find a way to bounce back. I think the rotation will work itself out, and wouldn't be surprised if they maybe make it a midseason trade of some kind, maybe bring in a pitcher, maybe something along those lines just to kind of round out the rotation. But I'm bullish on the Orioles this year, but getting it done over the Dodgers, preventing a back-to-back. Now, Kelsey, on the other hand, sees things just a touch differently than I do. He does have the Orioles getting there, but he has them losing to the Astros. And then he has the Dodgers taking out the Braves on the way to the World Series and on their way to repeating as the back-to-back World Series champion. Shohei Ohtani leading the way. So Kelsey has the Dodgers over the Astros. I have the Orioles over, over the Dodgers. We both have the Dodgers in there. Kelsey just has the Dodgers winning, where I have the Orioles getting it done. Let us know down below what you think of the World Series predictions and who you think is going to get there. Do you think either one of us has the right idea, or do you think we are both completely off base? But that's going to do it for the MLB World Series predictions, which is now going to take us into crunch time. And for crunch time, don't have a whole lot for you all today. I do just want to talk about, if you didn't get a chance to see last week's episode, I was able to sit down with our good friend from the UFL podcast, Zach Kyleman, the football guy, all things spring football. He gave us a full rundown what to expect, a potential looming lockout with the UFL, the collective bargaining agreement, unions. Him and I got a chance to go into all that, plus who to look out for in the season. Are the Stallions going to continue to run ramshot across the entire league, or can someone pull the upset, and some players to look out for? If you haven't got a chance to check that one out, I do greatly appreciate y'all to go check it out. But that's going to do it here for this shorter episode of the High Low Sports Podcast today. My good friend Kelsey will be back to join us here shortly. He is just on holiday right now, but he will be back. We thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you all again next week.